I've been thinking I really need to get better at making videos that have like any sort of structure at all, because like everybody's probably already clicked off, you know what I mean? And like that's fine, but I've been thinking I can do one, like I can either just keep ranting about whatever I want to avoid, and then just like get upset when it doesn't get any views. And then from there I can be like, well, I could either make things better, or I can blame the TikTok brain, and then I have more to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm just saying, okay? If you already clicked off, it's because you got TikTok brain, and you can't pay attention. It's not because my videos are bad. What do you mean? Right? Anyway. So this video, I've kind of gone, and I've just been recording for the past whatever time. I'm not really paying attention. I don't know why I started that. But yeah, I want to talk about another idea. And this idea is from the fact that I don't believe in God anymore. There's a little asterisk right there. I used to for a long time, for 18 years of my life. Can you believe that? 18 years of my... Well, I guess not 18, because when you're a child, you don't really know what's going on. Anyway, up until recently, it was probably around a month ago now, I was kind of like, you know what? I guess I don't really believe anymore. And that was like an upsetting experience, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was just kind of upsetting, because I'm like, okay, this whole time I just kind of did something and just kind of wasted like so much thinking and just held on to this idea for so long, even though towards the last like 2 years of that, it just kind of made no sense, Like, even there was like a period of time where I said I didn't believe in God, when in reality I just thought God was being an asshole to me for some reason, because there's just a bad time. But I'm like, no, even back then I still believe in God, really. I just didn't like him that much. And then I started believing in him again as life got better, of course, as you tend to do. And then, of course, well, I guess believing, because I didn't really not believe in the first place. And then, of course, I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I just don't really believe anymore. And then it's like life didn't change, So it's kind of like, okay, what was the point? But the whole thing that got me thinking was, of course, this idea that, okay, that's kind of crazy to think that I don't really believe in God anymore, because for a long time I did. And then it got me thinking, I'm like, man, not believing in God is just an objectively stupid thing to do. Like, it just objectively is, Because for so long I held on to this idea. And of course, in doing so, I did everything I could to hold on to that idea, just hold tight onto it, because I felt like it was necessary for me. Even if I had doubts, I'm like, this is good. And the reason I thought so was, of course, because the whole thing with Pascal's wager, right? If you don't know what it is, it's like you're really not giving up anything by not believing in God. So, like, by not believing in God, what are you really doing? You're just setting yourself up for failure, and you're guaranteeing that, right? In a way. And of course, I can get into more things about why I don't believe in future videos. Obviously, I want to save that so I can, crank that content farm, and the happy monkeys can go watch, Just saying. Hey, I'm honest, okay? I'm honest. It's one thing you can't call me a liar, okay? I said what the other people won't say, so you can trust me, because I said what they won't say, because I'm super tough and strong, right, guys? Also, buy my course, please. Forgot to say that. So yeah, it's my 8-part atheism course. It's pretty cheap. It's only about $2,500. So, like, I'm just saying, you could do it. I'm not forcing you. But also, there's a link, and if you click that, you get 30% off. So it's kind of a bargain, really, if you really think about it. Also, probably going to set up like a camp soon, so you can go out on this man retreat. Only alphas go, so I don't know. I don't really think you're really suited for it, I'm going to be honest. I don't think you couldn't even survive a week. Look at this fucking loser. Anyway, why was I doing that? Okay. The entire point of this video, it's a serious topic, but of course I'm just messing around with it. So, you have this idea that, of course, there's really nothing to lose by believing in God. So I kind of broke this down into 4 possible outcomes, okay? You have the fact that you believe in God and you're right about it, okay? So you believe in God and you're right. You go to heaven. Great. That's kind of self-explanatory, right? But not only do you get to go to heaven, you also get the earthly, worldly aspect of believing in God. You get that community, and that community is very important for people, especially as we're finding out after post-COVID society, right? It's really hard for people to feel included, and that's part of the reason that religion to some degree has expanded, even if it's not to the same degree as it's being claimed to have been. It's kind of hard to say. But regardless, it seems that it's possible that religion and attendance at churches is increasing, and part of that is, of course, because people are very lonely and they feel like they need that purpose, And obviously the second part is you believe in God, but you're wrong. Okay, so you miss out on heaven, sure, but everybody misses out on heaven, so it's not really that big of a deal, but you also get the worldly aspect, like I said, that community. So clearly you get a benefit by believing in religion, right? Okay, and then what do you get by not believing in God? Well, you don't believe in God and you're wrong. That means you don't go to heaven, but some people got to go to heaven, so that sucks. But you also missed out on the worldly aspect, so what the hell are you doing? Like what kind of choice is that? Okay, but then you believe in God, you're right about that, God doesn't exist, but then you still don't get the worldly aspect of God, but you also didn't get heaven either, but nobody gets heaven, so it's fine. Okay, well that's kind of a interesting thing there, because what do we just prove? Well, we prove that by believing in religion, you get immediate impacts, right? Regardless of whether you're right or wrong, you get that worldly aspect of religion that's very important. Obviously, now it's important to say that, of course, you can get that worldly aspect from other places, right? But the whole thing is if you believe in God and you go to church and you get that worldly aspect of believing in God, then, well, the heaven part could come with it. Like, sure, we don't know for sure, but if you have faith, you're clearly set. Like, you got two great outcomes, right? Like, there's really no losing. So I'm sitting with this idea, and of course I've held on to that for a long time, and that's kind of how I justified my belief in God for such a long time, was like, man, there really is no reason to not believe, So we broke it down into 4 possible outcomes, and everything seems to point towards there's really no loss. Like, believing in God is just a given, it seems. But, of course, for some stupid reason, I decided, yeah, I don't really believe in God anymore. And I'm thinking, why the hell do I do that? Why the hell did I do that? Right? I use this analogy. I pretty much walked to a poker table, went all in, my bet's infinity, and I saw my cards, I didn't like them that much, so I just walked away. It's like, what the hell's that choice? Like, yeah, your odds might not be great, but you bet infinity. So if you walk away, you're just not even going to know if you won. It's infinity. Like, what the hell are you doing? And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I saw my hand, I didn't like it, my bet was infinity, and I walked away. For some reason. And I can't even fully explain why. I don't know. Like, to me, it seems so obvious that there's literally no reason to not believe in God, but I don't. I still choose to not believe in God. That's so crazy to me. And obviously, I have reasons for doing so. I didn't just one day wake up and be like, you know what? There's no God. I didn't do that, obviously, because that's impractical, right? But I had evidence, right? So say I go to the poker table, right? My hand sucks. But say, I can also see everybody else's hand. Or I can see everybody's hand but one guy. Everybody shows me but one person. And it already looks like I'm going to lose. That kind of makes it a little more justifiable on the fact that I just stood up and walked away from the table. It's like, okay, yeah, my odds might not be great, but now that I can see everybody else's hand too, it looks even worse. Like, at least at that point, I have some evidence, some reason to walk away, even though it might not even be justified, because obviously we haven't seen the cards on the table. Not everything's done yet. So it's like, there's still a chance, you know what I mean? So from there, I kind of developed this idea that I called, I just called it proper atheism, and it's kind of this idea that you shouldn't reject God unless you have legitimate grounds to do so. So I think everybody should believe in God, and if you can't justify your unbelief in God beyond something just stupid, then you should just believe in God. Like, you just should, you know? And of course, like, I'm saying this because I think people should explore the nature and decide for themselves if that's something they want to believe in. Because for me, of course, I set out to look and understand God, and I ended up at the opposite conclusion that I wanted. Like I said, I was religious for a long time. I was clearly biased. And even still, despite that bias, I somehow still found myself, at the end of it, not believing in God. Like, again, I was so unbelievably biased, and I wanted this to be true. And then somehow, I end up, I'm here, and I'm like, man, this is really a stupid decision. You know, the only thing, in part of the idea I developed of, you know, proper atheism, it might already be something that exists, but that's just what I called it as I was, you know, thinking and writing about this. I think the only justification that doesn't even really make a lot of sense, but it kind of works, is the idea of exploring just the nature of the world and existence. And if that's your reason for not believing in God, because you want to continue to explore and understand, and if that leads you to believe in God again, great. If it doesn't, whatever, you know? I feel like that is really the only justification, is looking to understand these things. Like, it's really weird for me, especially and I'm sure all formerly religious people go through this, where you just kind of, you sit down sometimes and you're just like, it feels weird, you know? Like, it feels like something's missing. And I don't think that something missing is God, right? I think you could do this with anything, right? Say you, I don't know, believed in the fact that hot dogs exist for the longest period of time. And all of a sudden you find out that there's no evidence that hot dogs exist. And you're just like, man, what the heck happened? I thought I was eating hot dogs. What are they? You know what I mean? A weird example, but that's kind of what it feels like. I don't think it's... Of course, anybody who's religious would be like, oh, there's something missing? That's God. That's God speaking to you. No, it's not. It's just the fact that I held on to an idea for so long, and now that idea is just not something I believe in, but of course it's still something I think about every day, you know? Like, there's so many things. And of course I could go into a bunch of reasons. I have a ton on why I don't believe in God anymore. But of course, that's a topic for another day. Like I said, I need to keep that content farm rolling, because God is my channel fumbling hard, alright? Hey, 20 views on one video though? I'm basically a celebrity, so I mean, subscribe if you want to. I don't want to force you or anything, but look, you're going to want to jump on the hype train now, so that way you can say you're one of the first 5. Yeah, it's kind of sad. But hey, you know, 5 is more than 1. So, who needs more? Personally, I don't. I don't know why I'm still going. Okay, anyway, go have a good day.